Miss, I will be discussing one of the constitutions of our country, the Malolos Constitution. But before tackling on what this constitution all about, let's know first on why we need to tackle it. Is there any importance? And can someone even benefit in this discussion? So the answer is yes. It is important that we have knowledge about this constitution as it will be very helpful to each Filipinos. This constitution is for us, for each of us. This is all about our rights. Malolos Constitution emphasizes on the protection and promulgation of the rights of citizens. It specifically provided for safeguards against abuses, and it enumerated our national and individual rights. Since we know how important it is, why not dig deeper on what the Constitution all about? So the 1899 Malolos Constitution. The political constitution of 1899, or in Spanish, Constitución Política de 1899, informally known as the Malolos Constitution, was the constitution of the First Philippine Republic. It was written by Felipe Calderon y Roca and Felipe Buencamino as an alternative to a pair of proposals to the Malolos Congress by Apolinario Mabini and Pedro Paterno. After a lengthy debate in the latter part of 1898, it was promulgated on 21st of January 1899. So the Constitution was formed on 1899 and it was the first Philippine Republic. It was promulgated on January 21, 1899. The Malolos Constitution is the first important Filipino document ever produced by the people's representatives. It created a Filipino state whose government was popular, representative, and responsible, with three distinct branches: the executive, the legislative, and judicial. So stated there that what Felipe Calderon y Roca and Felipe Buencamino had written, it was an alternative of what the Malolos Congress had proposed, and it was led by Apolinario Mabini and Pedro Paterno. So, unsa man na ang Malolos Congress? So the Malolos Congress, also known as Revolutionary Congress, formerly known as the National Assembly, was the legislative body of the revolutionary government of the Philippines. Malolos Congress, Emilio Aguinaldo, issued a decree on July 1898 asking for the election of delegates to the Revolutionary Congress. Another decree was promulgated 5 days later, which declared that Aguinaldo would appoint representatives of Congress because holding elections is not practical at that time. He appointed 50 delegates in all, but this number fluctuated from time to time. In accordance with these two decrees, Aguinaldo assembled the Revolutionary Congress at the Brasuan Church in Malolos, Bulacan. So, Bulacan on September 15, 1898. In accordance with the decrees of June 18 and 23, 1898, Aguinaldo convoked the Revolutionary Congress at Brasuan, Malolos. Peace and order conditions in some provinces were such that Aguinaldo was compelled to appoint their delegates to Congress consequently. On September 4, he appointed 50 delegates to the Congress. This number was increased by 10 on September 10. The number of delegates to the Congress fluctuated from time to time. So, muna siya ang gimin diri sa slide that at first 50 delegates ang gi-choose, but this number nagkataas from time to time. In the morning of September 15, the Basilica at Brasuan was filled with delegates and spectators. So the atmosphere was festive and the Pasig Band played the national anthem. After Aguinaldo had read his speech, congressional elections were held among the delegates present. So outside, ang Banda Pasig nag-play sila sa national anthem. When Aguinaldo and his officers arrived, the delegates, the cream of the Filipino intelligentsia, spread out to give way to the president, which is ang president is si Emilio Aguinaldo. With the president seated, the secretary read the names of the delegates, after which Aguinaldo was introduced. Cries of "Viva!" reverberated, and Aguinaldo acknowledged the applause of the throng. Then he stood up and read his message, first in Tagalog, then in Spanish. A round of applause followed Aguinaldo's speech, which Felipe Bencamino wrote. Aguinaldo then announced that the ceremonies were over and that Congress was convened after electing its officers. In the afternoon, the Congress proceeded to elect its officers, namely Pedro A. Paterno for the President, Benito Ligarda for Vice President, Gregorio Araneta, First Secretary, and Pablo Campo, Second Secretary. So, mentioned ganiha that ang Banda Pasig played the national anthem. So, the national anthem was sung that time for the first time. It was sung for the first time. So, Aguinaldo commissioned Juan Felipe, a composer from Cavite province, was asked to write on an instrumental march for the proclamation of independence ceremony. The original title was Marcha Filipina Magdalo. This was later changed to Marcha Nacional Filipina. The lyrics was added in August 1899 based on the poem titled Filipinas by Jose Palma. The original lyrics was written in Spanish, then to English, when the flag law was abolished during the American period. Then later was translated to Tagalog, which underwent another change of title to Lupang Hinirang. The Philippine National Anthem continued to Filipino-American hostilities. So, mao ni siya nga na-create ng pag-translate na, mao ni siyang ang title na sa atong national anthem is Lupang Hinirang, which is ato gyapon gi-use until now. So, the following were amongst the most important achievements of the Malolos Congress. In September 29, 1898, ratified the Declaration of Philippines Independence held at Kawit, Cavite on June 12, 1899. Next, passage of a law that allowed the Philippines to borrow 20 million pesos from banks for government expenses. Next, establishment of the Universidad Literatura de Filipinas and other schools. Next is drafting of the Philippine Constitution. And lastly, the declaring war against the United States on June 12, 1898. So, the first significant act of the Congress was the ratification on September 29 of the independence proclaimed at Kawit on June 12, 1898. Aguinaldo, whose office and official residence were located at the convent of Malolos Church, arrived at Barausian, where Congress was holding its sessions amidst the vociferous acclamations of the people and strains of music. The ceremonies began at 10:30 a.m. and Aguinaldo, after congratulating Paterno, he congratulated Paterno kay he was elected naman for president, for having been elected to presidency of Congress, is what I said. Partly he said in Tagalog, "Now we witness the truth of what the famous President Monroe said to the effect that the United States was the Americans. Now I say that Philippines is for the Filipinos." A committee to draft the Constitution was created with Felipe Calderon as its most prominent member. Having set Mabini's constitutional program aside, the committee, under the influence of Calderon, also set aside, but in a subtle manner. So, Paterno's constitutional plan, which smelled strongly of the Spanish Constitution of 1869, with the advice of Cayetano Arellano, a brilliant but unreconstructed Mestiza Calderon drew up his plans for the Constitution, deriving inspiration from the constitutions of Mexico, Belgium, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Brazil, and France. In the session of October 8, Calderon presented the draft of the Constitution. A few other amendments were inserted in the draft Constitution before it was sent to Aguinaldo for approval. So, in drafting the Malolos Constitution, a committee was elected to draft a constitution for the Republic. The committee was composed of Hipolito Magsalin, Basilio Teodoro, Jose Alejandrino, Alberto Barreto, Jose Maria de la Venia, Jose Luna, Antonio Luna, Mariano Abella, Juan Manday, Jose Albert, Joaquim Gonzalez, Gregorio Araneta, Pablo Ocampo, Aguido Velarde, Eugenio Binetes, Tomas de Rosario, Felipe Calderon, Arsenio Cruz, Felipe Bencamino. They were all wealthy and well-educated. Ano na ta sa Malolos Constitution jud. So the Malolos Constitution, the political constitution of 1899, is written in Spanish, which was the official language of the Philippines at that time. It is composed of 93 articles divided into 14 titles with transitory provisions in 8 further articles and with one unnumbered additional article. So mo ni siya ang preamble. We, the representatives of the Filipino people, lawfully convened in order to establish justice, provide for common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure the benefits of liberty, imploring the aid of sovereign legislator of the universe for the attainment of these ends, have voted, decreed, and sanctioned to the following. So, the political constitution. Title 1, The Republic. It is from Article 1 to 3. It is all about what the Philippine Republic is, and that it is free and independent, and sovereignty resides exclusively in the people. So, Title 2, The Government. Article 4, the government of the Republic is popular, representative, alternative, and responsible, and shall exercise 3 distinct powers, namely the legislative, executive, and judicial. Any 2 or more of these 3 powers shall never be united in one person or cooperation, nor the legislative power vested in one single individual. So, sa Title 3, Religion. Article 5 rani siya. So, ang Article 5, the state recognizes the freedom and equality of all religions, as well as the separation of the church and the state. So, in Article 4, the Filipinos and their national and individual rights. So, this is from Article 6 to Article 32. So, based sa iyahang pong title, so, enumerated there the national and individual rights of each Filipinos. So, the next, Title 5, the legislative power, from Article 33 to 53. So, it is all about the power of the legislative, their responsibilities, and on what shall and shall not do. So, next, the Title 6, the Permanent Commission, from Article 54 to Article 55. It is all about the election of 7 of its members to form the Permanent Commission, and also on what they shall attribute. So, Title 7, the Executive Power, from Article 56 to 57, all about the responsibilities of an executive. Title 8, the President of the Republic, from Article 58 to Article 72. It is all about the responsibilities of the President and on what he or she shall not do and the consequences of a wrong action. So, Title 9, the Secretaries of Government. So, from Article 73 to 76. Stated there that there are 7 secretaries. So, the secretaries did it at one, the secretary you did it at one, but 7 secretaries, and stated also there their responsibilities. Title 10, the judicial power, from Article 71 to 81. It is all about the responsibilities of the judicials. Title 11, the provincial and popular assemblies. It is just the Article 32, but stated there that the laws conform to the principles. Next is Title 12, the administration of the state, from Article 83 to 88. It is all about the responsibilities and duties of the government as a whole. So, Title 13, the amendment of the construction, from Article 89 to 90. And the last title, which is the constitutional observance, oath, and language. So, it is all about the constitutional observance, oath, and language, from Article 91 to 93. So next are the transitory provisions. It is from Article 94 to Article 101, the last article. But there's an additional article. Wala lang siya ginambiran pero additional article na siya. States that all the estates, edifices, and other property possessed by the religious corporations in these islands shall be deemed restored to the Philippine state of May 24, 1898, when the dictatorial government has been constituted in Cavite. Before I end my discussion, so there is one question that we need to highlight to make this discussion more helpful to us. We need to relate it to the present. So the question is, what is the relevance of studying Malolos Constitution to the present contribution of the lives of the people? We all know that there are issues, incidents, and crimes happening now. There are still happening, such as abuses that are against the rights. Though we are already aware of the rights, we are knowledgeable on what is right or wrong, and what is against or not, we cannot still control all of the people. We cannot avoid it 100%. There are still individuals, we can't stop on doing it. Also, we might do it someday, or we have done it already. Sad but true. That is why my topic, the Malolos Constitution, is relevant, as it will make you remember or if in case we don't know yet, we will gain knowledge. It will protect us. We can also share to others what we have learned and protect themselves. So let's protect our rights. Let's protect our lives. Thank you, Miss.